Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What is your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death? Yeah, so fuck up and die.
So any of you with video can see I wore this. You're not even going to be able to see it because my microphone's right in the way, but I wore my Hereditary shirt today. And you can
Such
see...
Such a sick shirt.
You see all my stains on my shoulder from child drool.
That's from your hereditary children.
Yeah.
Your little paymons.
That's right. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. I believe that's Jordan over there. I've got the Paymon drizzles on my shoulder here.
Yes, and you let the light into your children.
So I'm wearing my Hereditary t-shirt because we watched Shutter Island, and that's the movie. Oh wait.
You watched Shutter Island, and he was Paymon. Is this a sequel or what?
So we're in it. We're in the thick. It's only been 4 days, but it's spooky. It's spooky, baby.
Have you been keeping up, man? I feel bad. It's like the last, what is this? Is this our fourth year with
third?
Our third year, right? Yeah, third year officially doing it this. Okay. So I feel a little rocky. I guess, I don't know.
Do you have a rocky start? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I couldn't watch Frighteners. Anyways.
You haven't watched it yet?
No, I did. I have watched it.
Keep on with your letterbox, bud, because I keep trying to...
I know, that's where it is. I think I have the outlets. It's like I'm trying to use Instagram, Reddit, and Letterboxd, and so something's bound to... I'm not that juggle.
Well, I watched 28 Days Later today, earlier.
And I'm going to have to watch it after we do this podcast. Yeah. So, but I've seen that movie a million times, so maybe
I literally was watching it, and I'm like, I know all the beats.
I love that
But it's so good. Literally, I was telling my... this is not the 28 Days Later podcast, but... I was telling my wife, I was like, shut up. This is the best part. Just shut up.
Yeah, for real. But 28 Days Later is an original screenplay, just like the film that we're going to discuss today on the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast.
This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast again. We're actually talking about Hereditary because we're picking as one of the movies we watched this week. And I'm glad we picked it because, man, this movie fucking rules. This movie's scary.
It is very scary.
It's a scary movie.
And he, Ari Aster is the director of this film.
Yeah.
And the way he deals with trauma is so fantastic. And it's so real. It just feels natural. And I think Toni Collette's got a rubber face, dude. She is straight up. Her facial expressions in this movie really tie the whole thing together, dude.
Rubber face. Literally the entire time I was just laying on my couch being like, how... I'm like, it's fucking criminal. Who cares about the Oscars? But I was like, one day, these awards will recognize horror movies because I'm watching her performance and I'm like, this was, I remember my favorite performance of that year. And in my opinion, easily one of the best top 5 performances in any horror movie of the past decade. Fucking so good.
Dude, she nails it. And she even where Ari Aster did Midsommar, and we talked about that. You can go back and listen to that podcast.
We did do it. We're 100% Ari Aster. We've done
100%.
He's only done 2 movies, but he's batting.
Except we should do The Strange Things About the Johnsons. Have you watched that yet?
No.
Oh, dude, it's so good. It is. It's the most fucked up thing he's ever made.
Really?
And in such it couldn't be a feature. It works so well as a 12 or 13 minute short.
Huh.
But it's brutal. It feels like an Adult Swim short that is just too real. I know it's wild.
That's
his blend of surreal with just gripping, crippling anxiety and the actual reality of it.
Before we get so deep in it, give the fine people listening at home a synopsis for those who haven't seen it or those that just need like a little refresher so they know the beats. Did you? You didn't write one, you said.
No.
You didn't look one up either. You forgot about the synopsis part of the episode.
No, dude, I literally okay, listen to these things. They do
just
nothing.
Wing it. Just wing it.
So I'm gonna give you one real quick. This is the Letterboxd. When Ellen, the matriarch of the Graham family, passes away.
Name, yeah.
Her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. The more they discover, the more they find themselves trying to outrun the sinister fate they seem to have inherited. That is a nice. It's like a quick. It's not a synopsis per se. It's just like a nice kind of. It's a teaser. It feels like
it's a real vague like summary.
It's so vague. So this film it opens where they're going to the funeral of Ellen Lee, and you find through like dialogue and like later when Annie, the main character, who's the daughter of Ellen Lee, she goes to like grief counseling, and you kind of find later that like her family has a track record of like really intense mental health diagnosis.
Well, this movie does a really good job, and Ari Aster in general does a really good job just kind of like sprinkling those bits of exposition throughout the movie and like having it some through
feels natural,
some through natural dialogue revelations, some through like just like casual dialogue. Like there's a lot of stuff that is inferred just kind of like as you go, and also just like visual representations of like body language. It tells a lot what's happening there.
Well, and it's cool. I've noticed this movie there's a lot of like reading throughout it. It's wild how much like text messages and note cards that are written, and like a lot of people reading something, and it's interesting. I'm almost like it's kind of a different way for exposition. It's like an exposition dump, but it feels more natural because it's like it's almost like a prop that you're like learning off of.
Yeah, I get that.
It's definitely, it's kind of weird because I noticed on this view, I was almost like, I don't know if I like it or not. Like it almost feels like there was too much of it, but I mean, I give this movie 5 stars. It's not. It's clearly the things I would nitpick about this movie are so like basic,
nitpicky,
like that.
Yeah.
Right, nitpicky, exactly, yeah. And so, anyways, I think, and then one glaring issue, it's not even glaring, so that's the thing. It's just I find it, knowing this movie being my like 3rd viewing, I haven't really seen this that many times. When right at the beginning, the Charlie's the daughter, she's eating chocolate, and like the whole family's like, are there nuts in there? Are there nuts in there? Does it have nuts? you know, and like that was like, that's what it seemed. It seemed awkward, like kind of really out of nowhere. But beyond that, like that, everything else feels very natural for the family.
It does a good job, like planting seeds earlier,
and then
letting something as innocuous as with the chocolate, and then later letting it blossom into tension. Because I remember the first time I saw it, I immediately was like, there's that close-up, because it's like...
if the walnuts, they're chopping the fuck out of them.
Yeah, if somebody's doing a close-up of something, it's like, what are you trying to see? What's the point of that, right? And so she's chopping the fuck out of the walnuts, like a psychopath, by the way. She's holding the blade like this.
I love it. No, just like that of a wealthy child that's got the house to themselves and like reckless abandon. They're just like chopping the fuck out of these nuts. It's like, oh my god, I loved it.
About the reading thing, so the biggest thing so this is probably like my 5th viewing or something. And the biggest thing I kind of stuck with me the most this time watching it was just how, like, this. I don't think this movie is necessarily a slow burn movie. I think it's, like, got a good pace. But, like, just how slowly the, like, camera moves and, like, the edits really take their time. Like, some of the shots, like, really take their time to, like the whole movie just feels like this, like, slow moving car crash that's just like keeps going, and it just is like it just keeps ramping to impending doom. And it's like obviously there are some faster cuts, especially near the climax, with some intense stuff to like really punctuate that.
And that's because it becomes like your classic horror.
Yeah, well, it does the creeping. Sure, but it does the creeping dread real good. That I think in a different movie, stopping to to show several uncut seconds of text on like a piece of paper or a phone or whatever. In this movie, because the whole movie's paced that way, I almost didn't even recognize it until you said something like that. I was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. But because I would notice it in another movie where I'd be like, God, they're just like showing this boring text here. But in this movie, like the whole movie's set up that way that it's just like that you don't feel it as much. I don't know, and I mean that's good. Obviously, it's deliberate. I mean, I think that'd be the way I describe this movie overall. Is deliberate.
Deliberate, of course, dude. And I liked it a lot because, like I said, it's more of a prop. Because nowadays, you notice, like, to express communication through a telephone, it's like text is important in movies, and it's typically it'll like do something cute, like a bubble pops up, or it'll have it'll do like the whistles, and it kind of
they'll cop out and like have a voiceover go over it, or hey, let me read this out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or whatever.
They'll do that, or even just the text will appear above them hovering. And I've seen it done in like Fincher does that a lot.
Yeah,
and I
it
love
works.
it.
It works for depending on the situation, but
yeah, it totally works. And it like I think there's different ways to do it and different tones, but it works so well because it literally does feel like a prop. It feels very natural, like you're there, and it's it's something you're observing that these human characters are like. It's tangible for them, and I really appreciate that. Well, and I can't believe the little details and everything that's written. It feels so deep. It feels like so human.
Yeah, it's really, really well thought out. Let's bring it back though a little bit. What your first time seeing this
was
in theaters?
Your first time seeing it?
Yeah, we saw it together.
Yeah, we saw this together. We saw this with our significant others, and Victoria hated every minute of this movie. No, she loves it. She thinks it's amazing. It's just she's a
scaredy cat.
She's a scaredy cat, and the theaters are intense. This has such a beautiful score, dude. I love
it's just so deep. I love that my TV can't even handle it. It's just like
yeah. Well, dude, that's the thing. I'm sad because this is such a like it's. If you've only ever seen this on your TV screen, I can get the impact is not there. It definitely warrants like an uninterrupted theater viewing, because that first scene when Toni Collette's in the corner, up in the left-hand corner, when Steve or whatever I can't remember the kid's name, when he wakes up and he's like, "Where is everybody?" And it's like dusk.
Peter. I was trying to remember it too.
Peter. Yeah, Peter. They like he wakes up.
Steve's the dad.
And Steve the dad. And then Toni Collette's up in the corner. It's shot so well that even this viewing, I did the same exact thing. I was sitting there and I went, oh fuck, there she is. I forgot that. Like, 'cause I knew it was coming. I'm
scary.
Like, oh yeah, Toni Collette's like she's like in the corner doing some like hovering and like some of those creepy crawling stuff, And so I'm like, I'm waiting for it to happen. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, it happened. Well, but dude, if you remember in theaters, people were like pointing and like gasping and like, oh my god.
I do.
Everyone was like, yeah.
I'm really glad, because it's like this movie's got like a lot of staying power, and people talk about it as like it's one of the best horror movies of the like last in recent memory, and it's got a lot of hype, and so I do feel like it lives up to the hype. But I'm glad that when we saw it, like there wasn't that much hype about it. Ep.84 wasn't a big deal.
Why'd we see it? Why'd we see it?
I just saw the trailer and I thought it looked good. And like,
okay,
and that's it.
Like, right? Yeah.
I was just like, no, that looks cool. And so I went and saw it.
I really can't remember the hype behind
it.
I just remember
there wasn't like there was a ton of like, okay, this is like a good horror movie, and I'm like, we'll see, because every horror movie thinks it's the best horror movie ever.
Right.
And so we went and saw this, and I remember just being like, I don't know, seeing it the first time like fresh with like no one had seen it yet before it exploded was a whole other ball game too, because it's like the trailer did a really good job of like misdirection too.
Well, and because Charlie
it makes
in the
it
trailer,
think like she's like a demon child, which at the end of the day she kind of is, but that's not what the movie's about.
Well, she's a vessel dog. Okay, so anyway, it's like
I know.
It's like but no, how the trailer worked. So I watched. Dude,
the trailer's good though.
We're just getting to. I know it's like we should do a trailer podcast too, where we talk about those, because
dude,
that
I
actually
would.
That could be another segment we add in where we watch the trailer, talk about that before we talk about the movie, because it's kind of like the precursor. But anyways,
if we ever don't
I
have
was
enough to
watching
talk about, we'll just be like,
I
watch the
know,
trailer.
right? I guess that's true. Yeah, we could fill an hour. But I was watching an interview with Ari Aster, and he's like, the interviewer was like, "Oh man, how'd you think of that trailer? The trailer's like beautiful." And he's like, "I had nothing to do with the trailer. A24, they're one of the greatest, like, you know, was it PR, you know,
You fucking
distribution.
A24 shill over there.
Oh, dude, yeah, we love A24. What are you talking about?
I do. I love A24.
But like their distribution is like amazing, and they're the ones who edited that trailer, and it was so smart on their part to make Charlie live throughout the whole trailer. Like, and I went back and I watched it.
Well, and they make it
I was
seem
just
like she's kind of
she's
like the
main
antagonist.
kid. Well, and they give her. That's what's so amazing about it is the misdirect already, just with her prosthetics and her facial features and her whole deal, her affect and her like body language. You kind of get that, like, oh, they're doing like the creepy, you know, evil kid or whatever.
Yeah,
that,
she's always doing
that
weird
style.
drawings and like
Right.
But-
You're like, oh, she's creepy, but
So obviously,
dude,
like one of the most talked about
love it.
scenes, and it's like not even halfway in the movie. It's like 40 minutes in or something,
Dude.
30 minutes in, when she fucking dies,
Yeah.
and it's just so brutal. She gets, you know, decapitated in like a car accident type of thing.
And I love how you don't. The first time you see this movie, they hide that, so there's
know,
no
I was literally
decapitation
like-
until the head scene.
I remember seeing it in theaters and being like, "That didn't actually happen. What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then he like,
yeah.
you feel his shock, and you know he's all super stoned too, which is like the worst nightmare ever.
Right.
And he goes home and he just goes to bed, and then Toni Collette's screaming is just so horrific. But I remember the first time seeing in theaters. There's some things you see in horror movies and stuff that just like I feel like shock you, and you're like, oh, like you have that instinct
seared.
to look away.
Seared
Is when it
in my
cuts
brain.
and it cuts to the severed head on the side of the
I love
road with the ants and the score and her screaming. I remember seeing that in theaters and being like, dear God.
Yeah, dude. Victoria looked away, buried her head in my shoulder, and was like, "Why? Why'd
Yeah,
they do that
dude.
to me?" It's like it's unfair because
You can't
Ari
never
Aster-
unsee it.
no, you can't. You can't ever unsee it. And Ari Aster doesn't give you any warning, which makes it amazing and makes it the only like jump scare in this movie. I don't know.
There's quite a few jump scares, but they're so fucking earned.
But I think I was gonna say I hardly even consider them jump scares.
Barely.
Like, even
barely.
the only scene that I truly believe is like a genuine jump scare because the music and the action both come together. You know, is when she comes out of the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
That's the
only time.
the real. But I
Yeah.
would consider well done,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't. I do feel bad calling it a jump scare because it's like
No,
the
right,
wrap
yeah.
of a jump scare. But every time they have so baked in Charlie's character and like something being off with her, something being off with the family and the environment, the clicking noise every time she does
the tongue knock. Yeah.
Every time she does that, and every time that happens after, it's the way it builds up, and then it and it cuts, and the reactions, it's just like a jump scare,
right?
But it's 1,000 times. It's just so much more baked in, and it doesn't rely on music and stuff.
I wanted to make the comparison because we're just talking about Hereditary today. We're watching 31 movies. And then on the 8th of November, we're going to do like our big run through.
We're going to talk about everything because we still wanted to put out a podcast per week and give a select few movies a little bit longer attention. And then at the end of the month, we're going to go full ham. I'm going to drink like a bottle of whiskey.
Same,
and
dude. That's what I plan on doing.
We're going to talk for like 4 hours about all the rest of the movies.
Making some cocktails and talking. But I just wanted, because, you know, we just watched As Above, So Below. And that movie has jump scares. It's so tired to see a jump scare that like, and it's like nowadays a jump scare comes and you know it. You're like, okay, the camera panned. Now here, 1, 2, 3, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw it. It's like, you know, it's like listening to elevator music. Like it's just like it's so there. It's so innocuous. It's like not even fun. And so I was like, oh man, there's like so many jump scares in that movie. I'm like,
don't let me
what a bummer.
forget. I wanted to talk to you about before this is totally off, but I finally saw Barbarian, so I want to talk with you about it after the podcast.
Oh, hell yeah. See, speaking of jump scares, no, I don't want to spoil Barbarian, so. Go see that.
Well, I saw it with Mary too, and she was like, ooh, she like grabbed me.
Beautiful, dude. Well, and that's earned. That I don't consider that a jump scare.
There are earned jump scares and there are unearned jump scares.
I want to go on the record
it's a fucking cop out to just use it just to because it does feel cheap.
A jump scare is definitely a tool.
lot of movies.
A jump scare is a tool, and I think we use jump scare a lot nowadays for things that are kind of like I guess it's technically as a jump scare. We just don't really have another term for it because
I mean, anything that just does like a buildup of tension and then like a loud, noisy, quick release that's like a scare. I think I do think it's the most when it's like a terrible sound effect or a terrible musical cue mixed with like the fake out jump scare is the one I can't stand.
Oh, I know.
When it's like you close the mirror and it's like. But it's someone standing behind you, but it's just your friend. It's cool.
It's just your friend.
Fuck you. Get out of here. Like, do it without the musical cue, because then you're subverting the fact that we know there's going to be a jump scare there to just like scare ourselves, but you didn't like lean in with the cheap music. But anyway.
Yeah, and it's almost like
this movie doesn't really have any of that. And like you said, the only jump scare really is that one part. But it's literally spent the last 2 fucking hours building it up.
Right, it's a jump scare for like
it's a release.
You know,
the whole
lack of a better
Climax
term
is a huge.
But it is like it's intense still, and it's a wide shot too. So it's not. Yeah. That's how come I don't consider it a jump scare. It doesn't cut to it most of the time. Jump scare cuts to it, So
get on the Reddit. Tell us if it's a jump scare. I don't know.
That is true. Yes, please go to r/coldest.
Why don't you go on there?
Tell us if we're wrong.
Just go on there and write. You should go do a post that just says, "What's your favorite jump scare in horror?" And then just
that actually would be fun to do one day. Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite and least favorite. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. The ones that feel earned, because this has a few, but that whole climax sequence, the thing that people I've seen online complain about is that it becomes formulaic. Even Travis, who actually I don't know if Travis left a message.
I saw his letterboxed, and I want to know if it was his first time seeing it, because I didn't necessarily, because this is one of the few movies I've seen twice in theaters, because I remember we all went and saw it, and I was like, holy fuck. And so I took Pablo to go see it. I was like, dude, you got to see this movie. Let's go see it. I want to see it again. And so we went and saw it. And then I watched it. You know, this is probably like my 5th time or something. But like, this. I totally lost my train of thought.
Okay, well, it's fine. You and Pablo saw it, but to finish my thought, even Travis kind of thought the ending was cliched.
Yeah, no, okay. So the first time I saw it and I heard that complaint, I was like, oh, I didn't feel that, but I get that. Yeah. And then on subsequent reviewings, I'm like, no. I mean, it's so everything is so baked in from the early on that it's like, it does get to the point where I'm like, are we watching the same movie? Like, they're like, oh, it becomes like this crazy cult, like supernatural thing. And I'm like, they're like, I thought it was about grief and mental illness. And I'm like, did you see the scene where the chalkboard was writing on itself? Like, this is that kind of movie, and it always has been. At the end of the day, this is like a demon possession movie almost. You know what I mean?
It is. It is straight up like with the cults. Changeling. Yeah. I mean, in that, and even then, like, using that cult motif is like
to the cults. Like, even the cult symbol shows up like fucking 20 times before the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. The whole cult thing is baked in. Like,
but I could see, because it's like, it's very, it's like almost overly subtle, that I feel like a lot of people first time watching it, they get really into like, oh, it's like, is it psychological? Because she seems like she's having a full-blown breakdown.
I know.
And you could be like, is she just fucking losing her mind? Oh, it's so good.
Right. Exactly. Because it's like the family history there.
Yeah, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
But then you realize the family history is all of it, all of the above.
Is the grandmother, or like, Anne's mother, her orchestrating the whole thing, pulling the strings. It's like so fascinating.
Basically only having a family so that she could have the vessel of her god, into like one of these, because she's the queen, you know, she's got the portrait at the end of her being the queen, and all that, and it's
well, dude,
it's so good, and then it's just the shocking punctuations of violence are just like the cherry on top.
Totally. No, like her when she's floating and she's sawing her head off with the piano wire, it like that slow like it like gets me.
And you hear it first, and you see.
I love it.
Well, that's what's so good about this too, is there's like several parts in this movie that focus entirely on like the reaction. Like there'll just be like a long, steady shot of, you know, the dad while Toni Collette's just fucking rambling at him. Or there'll be like, you know, the whole, like one of the most intense parts of the movie, and that's why it's catches you off guard, is you just follow Peter from the car, he lays down in bed, and then you watch the sun come up, and you hear everything unfolding in the other room, but you don't see any of that. It's just like there's so many times where it just relies on the reaction or the lack thereof to like show something. But that's when they pull the rug out from under you and show you a fucking severed head being eaten by ants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
because it really is. It's like he said in his interview, this was a family drama first.
Yeah.
And then to tell that story, he made it a genre. Like he decided to choose horror as his genre, and specifically the like incantation, like possession, you know, genre, that specific, like using seances and stuff, using that and just making it the family drama. That's what he does with like all of his movies. He loves to take like a very simple premise and then give it a genre. And right now it's wild because horror, his short, is not a horror at all. I mean, it's got some horrific themes to it, but it's like wild that both his movies, he kind of gave them a more shocking horror. But I mean, it's like they're not even horror. They kind of transcend,
you know,
that
he's not gonna get pegged down into it, because it's like, even though, because like there's no doubt that Hereditary is a horror film, and he does it exceedingly well. But Midsummer, there's some question there. I mean, it is a horror film, kind of, but it's, at the end of the day, because it is so heavy, and the way it does like so many horror themes and so many horrific moments, that it's like, it also is a horror film, but it's harder for me to, I don't know, that's where it gets iffy. And his next movie's like a noir or something, so.
That's right, yeah.
Like a noir comedy or something, I heard. I don't remember, so we'll see. I mean, he's gonna get my butt. He's gonna get my butt in the seat every time now.
100%.
No matter what, but
yeah, him and Eggers. If I see
those
them.
are just because those are the two guys that they just like really exploded on. And Eggers is he's gone away from horror because he did the same thing. Because it's like, we've talked about this before, where horror, we love horror so much, because it's like the best vehicle to tell so many. It's so versatile. You can tell so many stories with horror, and going back to the early days, like you can tell riskier stories with it.
Yeah,
to like really push like cultural zeitgeist shit into the foreground with horror films, and like with these movies, it's like obviously like he is what like popularized. Obviously, other movies have done it, but lately it's like, oh, it's a metaphor for grief or whatever, you know. It's like these movies have kind of, because like obviously Eggers with The Witch, and then you had like Kent with like Babadook, and it came out right before those, and this obviously it's like I feel like, God, I wonder, we should do that too, find the history of that, because it's like, because like Babadook I feel like did a lot of what Ari Aster's doing now. Yeah, Babadook is first. You know, I remember that
was the first. I remember seeing Babadook.
Because that's Jennifer Kent, right? I think that directed that, because she directed Nightingale, which was awesome.
Oh my God, Nightingale's amazing. Yeah.
And then it's like Eggers went on to direct. It's like, I like these people that like they start with these horror, and they wear their horror influences on their sleeves, but it's just like, I hate how boxed out horror always becomes, because it's like they take horror elements into their other movies, but it's like they are horrors, but they aren't, but who cares? Like, I don't know. It's like, I hate trying to generalize them and put a genre in it, you know, because it's like Lighthouse is a horror movie, I guess. But but kind of. But I don't know. Like, not even really. It's like a nightmarish, surreal, dark comedy.
What would you call it? Dude, yeah, dark. I mean, dark comedy, I guess. But
yeah,
I
love that.
I don't know what you'd put on the cover for.
Did you ever? We're on a rant now a little bit, but did you see Northman yet?
No.
Oh, you got.
I know. I didn't. I missed it in theaters. It didn't play that long here. In theaters.
I'm lucky I caught it in theaters because I
know.
Caught it.
I don't even know like if it played for more than a week here, and so I missed it, and now I'm like kind of nervous about watching it on my TV. So I should just do it.
It's still worth it. I mean, just turn the volume up loud and just kind of get into it. Eat an edible or something. Just pretend you are a Viking.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, so this movie, Hereditary, is it's pretty good.
It's amazing, and I mentioned
good.
I mentioned early that it's like an original screenplay, and all of his movies have been original screenplays. Ari Aster can write the fuck out of one, dude. It was cool in the interview. They're talking with Tony Collette and like the other cast, and they're like it's like the most well thought out production they've ever been to. Like Ari Aster has.
This is his like feature debut.
Right, and it's his debut, but he comes into it like so strong.
Yeah.
I know, my God, dude, it's such a fucking. That's a heavy hitter, dude. Rarely does like your feature come out like looking so professional.
I don't want to suck his dick so hard, but it changed the genre, you son of a bitch.
I mean, yeah, right. No, yeah, but it's just like, and it's a relatively small budget too, like, so. Yeah,
just tell us right now. You got the budget. You brought
definitely knows what to work with. Yeah. So it was a 10 million. So
that's not bad though for like
that's cheap as fuck.
Well, and it's because it's obviously the scenes and was everything on inside a set. Do you know?
Yes. I mean, most of it. Yeah.
Well, because I know obviously just from watching it, they shot most of it here. Yeah, boy, all the exteriors anyway.
Yeah, all the exteriors
in like Summit County.
Yeah.
Anyway, which is not exactly here, but you know.
Well, same diff. It's shot in Utah.
It's like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same thing. It's beautiful. He loves shooting in Utah. He shot fucking Midsummer in Utah.
Yeah, that's right.
The stuff that clearly wasn't. Yeah, that was like outside of the U.S. But
and it looks. Anyways, it literally. I was watching Midsummer when we did it, and I was like the opening scene where the parents, where it's like the parents' house and all the snow and everything. I'm like. What is this, like Riverton or something?
Right, it was, yeah. It's like the foothills, dude. Yeah. It's like right, yeah. It's definitely like right in your backyard. But oh man, I don't even remember where I was going with.
Sorry.
Whatever. Yeah.
You're talking about the budget though. The budget is $10 million budget.
Right, $10 million. Which, I think that's right because it's just his debut, and it seems so polished. It seems like someone's fifth or sixth movie, and I think that it goes to his credit where he comes in so prepared, and I think that he has just like a methodical mind. I don't know, we are just praising him now way too much, but it really is cool to hear him talk. He's pretty modest, and he's definitely just like, oh, I like to talk about this, and he's like, I like to put myself in the movies, and he's your true outro, so we like you.
And he's barely older than us, you fucker.
I know. Don't even. Yeah, you don't need to mention that. I know. Yeah. Now we're over here just like desperately groveling at his feet.
I know.
but he made an amazing movie. Like I've never heard of anyone who doesn't like this movie. Like, people will be like 2 stars, and then in the review they're like most sweeping, magical piece of cinema I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, why'd you give it 2 stars?
Yeah, anyone I've ever heard hate on it, they seem like they're just trying to be contrarians at the point because they know it's popular. But it's like, even like I was watching this movie because when I watched Midsummer, I was like, this is my favorite. And then I watched this and I'm like, this is my favorite. I don't know.
Hereditary will always be my favorite.
I think Hereditary is like a better movie, like it's tighter, because I think Midsummer, it's like especially because they had to cut it down so you didn't get the full vision, and I highly recommend you go watch the director's cut. Next time if you ever watch Midsummer again in your life, just watch the director's cut.
Watch the director's cut. Well, that's the thing. I wonder if there's a director's cut for this movie. because it's supposed to be over 3 hours long.
Oh, really?
His original cut. So
Well, that's just interesting to try and
what's
get
cool,
everything out on the,
everything that was cut, all family dynamics, all
I'm
of it is
sure.
like, none of it's horror. It's all just like, family drama. And I'm like, oh man,
God,
that'd be fun to see.
Even the family drama is just so heavy. Like, man, the whole time I just felt so bad for that dad, for Steve. Like,
oh, dude,
like
he was definitely caught in the middle.
At the end of the day, like, obviously he should have acted more, and he was trying to be the reasonable guy, and he was grieving in his own way, for sure. But it's just like the whole time I'm just like, this poor guy. He's just trying to he's like, stop, you're scaring him, and like the whole time, I don't know, he's just trying to break it up, just like them at dinner. She's like, you're just sitting there with your fucking face on your face.
I love that scene.
Well, it feels so real because it's like it's kind of a silly line, but it's just she fucking says it with such vitriol. Like, it's just like it's like such, everything she's saying right there is just meant to cut him, and he's just looking at her like, and she's like, you can't even apologize for getting her killed, and he's just like,
it's
heavy,
dude. That's such a heavy line. And I feel for the dad because he's not. Like, this is such an unfathomable situation. Like, you don't know what to do. I mean, you're like separating.
He's the straight man, you know what I mean? It's like from his point of view, he sends the email like she's having a full blown breakdown, and from his point of view, he's not seeing all the occult stuff that we're seeing.
Right.
And so to him, she's just wigging the fuck out. This body goes, and then like that's when he finally draws the line. It's like, there actually is a body in the attic. Like, what the fuck? You did this, you had the whole breakdown, but she's the one losing it, and he's just trying to be strong for his family, and he gets burned alive for it.
Right. And that's actually a scene I wanted to discuss. I'm curious why he burned alive. I'm wondering if it's like whatever hatred was like transferred into the book, or his denial. It's like, to fulfill this prophecy, the father figure has to die. Because her father, Annie's father, the grandfather, he starved himself to death, which is like an amazing thing ever. I've never, like, in the truest sense of it, it's like, that is, to do that is wild. Like,
as she says in group therapy, it's about as pleasant as it sounds.
As it sounds. No, for reals, dude. That's like, So that is such an extreme, and I just wonder if like the father figure in that, like that, and because, but it's also interesting because I guess where the bloodline comes from, I'm surprised that the father figure died, Annie's father died, because it's like he just wasn't a vessel from Pavon, and he has to die.
Makes
and then
you wonder how far back it goes. I wonder if Ari Aster somewhere has got like a notebook, or just in the back of his mind, just as a screenwriter, just like setting up all the lineage, like, because like you've written stuff, so where it's just like, you bake up like the backstory in your own mind before you write it, so like why things are the way they are. So it's like, what were things like before Grandma? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all that, and it's like her as a kid. Like, honestly, like I would never want a Hereditary prequel. But
it's unnecessary. But
100% unnecessary. But be interesting because it's like her brother kills himself because he was obviously getting because she, quote unquote, the mom kept trying to put people inside of him. So obviously she was trying to make him a vessel. And then, however, the dad killed himself by starving himself for God knows why. And if that's even necessarily true, considering what an evil bitch the grandma is. So it's like, who knows, man? Like,
it's true. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot because Steve's, the present father's death was inflicted by the mother. So who knows if it's starving.
And it's clear the other world, the presence of Paimon, that like light, that like almost like watery reflection light, which is a really cool effect.
Right. I call it the Donnie Darko effect.
It is kind of like that.
They do that. Yeah. I remember the first time we saw this, I was like, it's like, oh man, I wonder if he had to have drawn some inspiration from that. It's like straight up. I mean, it's kind of
Donnie Darko gets more like the weird wave bubbles and stuff in the air, but
orbs are kind of light. Orbs are just classic, possession style, classic haunting.
Well, I like that it's just like the whole line, but
that's cool.
It does
give
show,
it like a point of reference.
Every time I watch this, it does feel like it is more concise about like the spirit of Payman or Charlie or whoever, right, all being mixed together, is like floats around, and they talk about it going to the weakest vessel and all that.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't go to Peter till he falls out the window. It tries to go to him earlier when he has that like stroke in the class, and then he like fights it off or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like it goes to him earlier when he jumps out the window. And so it's like, I don't know if it was like a direct supernatural because obviously he went caught on flames because he was holding he had the paint thinner and everything, but
sure,
but I do think it was somewhat supernaturally motivated. Like obviously the way it went and how it went seemed guided to that, and it was such a shock for Annie's character that's when she became the most vulnerable like that, because that's when she got possessed. Right. Was in that moment.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I love that. That
acting
acting is so good, dude.
So good. Where like she's just like shrieking
anguish
in terror to like, now the lights are off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many times she absolutely slays it in this. God, and there's so many freaky parts about this movie that I forget about, like the part when they do the seance at home the first time, and she's talking in Charlie's voice. I forgot how scary that is. And she's like, "Why are you guys scaring me?" And he's like,
"Yeah."
Peter's reaction is like, "No, please stop, please stop."
Yeah,
terrifying. Which actually reminds. So I'll ask it right now. We're going out of order a little bit, but fuck it. What is your favorite part of this movie?
Oh my god, dude. I mean, I don't know. The collective theater viewing when every time there's a scare or there is something that's like, you know, it hits the cue perfectly, and everybody in the theaters collectively goes, "Whoa, oh my god." Like that is amazing. So her in the corner, but like I don't know, dude. It's hard to think. I really, really like when his head's getting ripped off, and it's like that blend. I love at the end when it starts to become like a blend of like, is this mental health? Is this like a dream? Is this reality? You know, when his head's getting pulled off, and it's like, and I love all the symbolism throughout the whole thing of things being like headless, and like all the foreshadowing, you know, like the shadow boxes and stuff that she makes and those little miniatures, where it's like he's laying in bed without a head, and like,
and all the miniatures too is just like an extra level of dissociation, especially how she starts making the crime scene, or like she's like this is just a neutral stance of the crime, of the accident,
neutral depiction, neutral depiction.
And the dad's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, he's just like, don't let him see this.
I know. I was literally telling my wife, I'm like, I can't wait till our kids can start making art like this, so I could come in and be like, what's going on here, bud? Are you going through some stuff?
Dude, Charlie's artwork is some of my favorite things too. Like watching this movie, I'm like, it's so cool because it's Hereditary. It's like she watches her mom like create, and she wants to create the same. Like their living spaces look identical.
Yeah,
you know,
like
the mom's stuff. Yeah, and
her
like
drawings are scary, man.
Dude, they're so fucking sick. I love them. And I love that scene where the book is flipping and it's like all the drawings of her brother with that
crying,
like the X's. Yeah. Dude, I don't know, man. Finding the body is really sick. Oh no, I was gonna say my only thing that I don't like about this movie. The only thing, I think there's literally nothing flawed with this film, except when they go up and all those flies are there. They're like hella CG flies, which is fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But there's no fly that lands on anybody. I'm like, dude, have you ever been I've been in rooms where it is like there's something dead in the floors and there's flies everywhere, and it is straight up flies are on your face.
Have you now? You've been in rooms of rotting corpses, Jordan. Are you sure you want to admit this over
there? Several corpses. You got me.
I had a fly in my kitchen today. One fly. And it kept landing on me.
It kept landing on you.
Driving me nuts.
That was like the only thing where I'm like, man, if you were in a room with a bloated, distended corpse, and there were that many flies that were like visible, you would be completely covered in flies all the time. which totally was fun.
Like, God damn.
Yeah, right. But the intensity of that scene is amazing.
You know
I love that when they find it.
I've watched this so many times and I didn't even really notice that. I guess shows testament to like how the scene is, but you're totally right.
It clearly does not. It's
a nitpick, like you said, but
it's a nitpick. Well,
but I agree.
And it's a good point. It's because the only thing is, Toni Collette goes into the attic for a random ass reason. That was one thing I want to talk to you about this too. Is like, there's a few motivations that seem kind of interesting, and like maybe if I watch it again, I'll kind of get it better, or just because that she finds the photo album, and maybe there's a photo in there. That's probably where it is there's a photo of them like by the attic or something. There's got to be something that like triggered her to go look in the attic, because she's just walking through, and it's like, I wish there was like a fly that came out of the attic, you know, and it caught her attention, and she went up there or something. But anyways, these are like super nitpicky things, dude, that like don't change my opinion of this movie at all. It's just kind of little things where I'm like, he's so detail oriented that I'm like, that's kind of a scene that I'm like, I wonder, it must have happened later, or I mean earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and there's got to be like boxes in the attic. It's like, I feel like that's something you can infer to like.
Sure.
There's more like, she's in kind of a manic mode, and she's just like, what else can I find about this fucking shit? And maybe there's more, because there are shelves in the attic with boxes in them and stuff.
That's probably the closest.
Yeah, but it doesn't really explain it or anything. But
I mean, it doesn't.
I don't know if it has to.
Yeah, but that just thought it was funny, because she pulls the thing down, and then a bunch of flies, like CG flies, come out, and they don't interact with her, and she doesn't interact with them.
Well, it's the stench, that she does, and so I think people are like, yeah, there's gotta be some flies here.
I do love that, like her ability, like to avoid the sit, like no one else except the dad. So I feel like at that moment, like the dad has less trauma than everybody else, because he's the only one that's like, God, what's that smell?
Does. He's the only one that keeps smelling it. Like earlier in the movie, he comes in the house, he's like, there it is. Yeah.
Right. And so that body's great. What's your favorite part?
100% is my favorite part, and every time I watch this movie, I can't stop thinking about it, and I get excited for this part, and it's just literally when she sleepwalks. When she rolls over and there's the ant on her bed. Dude, and then she follows all the ants and comes into Peter's room. Yeah. And he's like covered with ants. It's just like this swell of music. And then it cuts to them. She's like, what are you doing? And they have the conversation, and it's like...
and then she's just covered in kerosene, or the paint thinner, or whatever.
The paint thinner. She's just like, I never wanted to be your mom and all that. And it's just like, why were you? And it's just like that argument. And then it just like... Then suddenly just cuts, and they're both soaking wet, and they're screaming at each other. He's crying. He's like, you tried to kill me. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And then like the match lights, and she wakes up, and I'm like, that's some good shit. That's
intense. Yeah, that's good. I forgot. No, my favorite part is something else that I would want to get a tattoo is when Toni Collette kills herself, cuts her head off, and then it's just that silent, oh my God, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, dude. The silent moment where she just kind of floats up into the treehouse.
I know.
Her corpse floats up into her.
Some people think that's
in the theaters.
Some people think that's goofy.
Like, really, dude? In theaters,
Mary thought it was silly. She laughed.
Oh my God, dude! That part gave me that like Antichrist. Yeah, dude, it gives me that Antichrist. It's because all the audio drops, and it's just this silent floating corpse into it, dude. It's so creepy.
It is.
I love it, dude.
I know.
God, I love that.
Dude, you should get just a simple outline of the treehouse with like a headless body just floating underneath it.
With it floating. No, dude, that treehouse is beautiful too. I love like the symmetry.
And I
love how the red light comes on in it, and then later it's like the rituals in there, going on.
The whole location and everything. I feel like people's biggest qualm with this movie is usually the ending.
Yeah.
Which I love, and the fact that it's just like has that the whole movie. It's got that really heavy, dark, like I don't even know, like cello string score,
right? But it's like
and then
electric cello or something like that.
Yeah, and then at the end, it's like it's still super dark, but it's like bright and like glorious when they're like hail,
or like bells.
Baby.
It's got bells and stuff going. I looked it up, and it's like. Can't remember what it's called, like Rebirth or something. It's the song because I just wanted to listen to it, dude. If I listen to it,
it's so effective after how and because the scene's so brightly lit too, and then it ends with the shot that's like the impossible shot of like in the treehouse, but it's like they almost look like miniatures.
What's a miniature? Yeah, right. Yeah. It's supposed to be that kind of like it is kind of one of those like we've been in a snow globe this whole time almost. It's like you're kind of like It's like it's. Become the reality that she tries to build, and so I fucking love it.
And then the end credits is like what make your own kind of music or whatever that song. It's like that poppy 60s song. I just think it's I don't know.
Well, dude, I love his. Ari Aster loves crowns. He's such a crown guy, dude. He's horny. He's horny for crowns.
Dude, crowns are great.
Him under the crown. And like that crown flower, you know, fucking Midsummer, dude, so good.
Yeah, we watched a movie not long ago that had crowns at like a wedding. It was like a medieval movie or something. And I was literally to my wife, I'm like, fuck, that was a missed call. Why didn't we get married with crowns? So,
dude,
if you guys ever get married one day, you have to wear crowns. Fuck rings, crowns, dude.
Yeah, crowns. And crowns are sick. They symbolize the same thing, dude.
I know, crowns are dope. I'm like,
yeah, man.
I told Mary I'm gonna like, you know, for our 10 years or something, I'm gonna renew our vows, and I'm getting crowns, dude. Like, it's gonna be
that's sick.
Anyway, did Travis leave? We're like almost at an hour.
No,
so
no, so that's good. We filled it up, but we do have one Reddit comment. You should read that.
It's funny that Hereditary only has one because all the rest have like 10 plus.
Dude, okay, I straight up I thought Hereditary was going to be like the most like talked about and like that. It's weird how you anticipate things and then like Frighteners has got more traction than this movie. So
I mean, I know I'm excited to talk more about all the rest of the movies with you.
Yeah, me too. And we do 28 Days Later today, maybe. But man,
oh yeah, because the other ones are just us. Yeah. So and thank you anyone who has been commenting on the Reddits and watching the movies along with us. And then Jordan, thank you because I feel like me and you have to be better about the Reddits, and we have been. I'm trying. We have been a little bit better, so pat ourselves on the back. Anyway, so Lizard Man's Pyramid says, never understood the father. Was he in the whole thing? Oh, was he in on the whole thing, or was he innocent? I just feel like it made no sense that he even let his son be in the same house with his wife, knowing her mental history and his son's apparent lack of empathy. Yeah, good question. I wrote that I definitely don't think he's in on it. Obviously, as we said,
I don't think he's in on it, but I definitely I don't know the lineage, the hereditary part of it.
I feel like based on his acting and his reactions, which are like stoic annoyance. I feel like this has been kind of like she's probably got obviously this like bipolar manic modes, and I feel like she kind of always goes into these modes anyway, because I feel like his reaction to her is just like
it does seem, and it seems familiar.
Yeah,
he's definitely he definitely seems calm enough
he tries to
she's gone through this before.
So it's not until things really fucking escalate that he finally he's like, oh, maybe this is more than just her regular craziness. But by then it's already far too late, obviously. But I do think that also it's hard to say in horror films. I feel like, and this, thank you for commenting, this person, though, they're not saying this exactly, but it feels like the same are a lot of argument where people are like, I hate when people go like, that would never happen, or I would never do that. And it's like, how people, it's like, as long as there's good characters that are like written to act a way that they would act, like everyone is so different that it's just like the way he behaves the whole time, like is 100% feels like that's who he is.
Feels natural. Well, and the one thing I think that's hard is like the question asker, they wanted to know like why he would like why they would stay in the house, because it totally makes sense. But I think it's that like there is a familiar bond there where you don't just like leave somebody, you know, if they're, but it does suck because I wish that he did take some action, because dude, the amount of trauma that has happened and the death that has happened in their life, I'm like, Doug, you all should be in grief counseling. You should all have like some sort of counseling.
He's definitely in denial, and I think I honestly think that his daughter dying put him in a further state of denial than he probably normally would have been. Because then it just makes him in denial. Like he's trying to be like, oh, well, do you know I'm just going about my business, and he reaches out to try and touch her to like try and have some kind of healing moment together, and then she just like gets up out of the bed and leaves, you know?
Yeah. Well, dude, do you know what kind of doctor he is?
I always thought he was like a psychiatrist or something. I don't know.
Okay, dude, if he's a psychiatrist, I'm gonna be like,
he just looks like
the
one.
fuck?
He just looks like one. So
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I swear there's somewhere that says like doctor next to his name.
No, yeah, I guarantee
right?
you
On the email or something. Yeah.
somewhere there's a fucking plaque that says it. You know what I mean? Or something.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember because it's like it's one of those things where I'm like, you would think that the amount of trauma that is like that's what I mean. The movie's aptly named. It's fucking Hereditary. It's like everybody in her family has like history of mental illness. Why is there not more precedent on taking care of that in some capacity, especially after all the deaths happened?
Look around in real life, man. Look around.
In real
people,
life, I know. Right,
people
right.
don't fucking deal with their traumas. Like
Yeah. Everybody out there,
our significant others are literally fucking in that field.
I know.
And so it's easy for us to say, like, man, you gotta handle that mental health. And
right, and
honestly,
it is getting more.
It is
more in mainstream, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, our generation and like it's like definitely it's more taken seriously these days. But I do think a great thing that horror movies play into, and like the scariest horror movies play into, is the familial element of like the family, where it's like, I think that's another part of the reason, like, not only does the character Steve never like really want to get out of the house, but also like Ari Aster doesn't really get out of the house as much in the movie, is just because it's like that's where you're supposed to feel safe,
right?
You know, it's true, like you're with your family, you're in your home, and it's just like it's such a violation when it's just like like there are external forces, but there's internal forces also like tearing it apart. And it's like you can't really recognize it until it's too late, until it's too far. Like once that you start to see the cracks in the foundation, it's like you're already fucked, buddy. And I think that just makes for such effective horror. Like I think the scariest horror movies are ones where it's just like someone, like, you know, Amityville Horror or something, like somebody kills their family,
right?
Or like it's just all these crazy stuff, like dad goes fucking nuts, or all those. And so it's just like this idea of like, it's supposed to be safe, it's supposed to be calm, it's supposed to be the American dream, but it's like got such this deep dark taint under it. But it, Steve's character specifically is just like can't see it until it's too fucking until he's in flames. And it is kind of funny. It's like his last straw, which I guess he sees the seance and he still is like, it's bullshit.
He's still in denial.
To me, that's the moment, like, depending on who you were, that would be the moment I would be like, oh, what are we doing? Let's fuck this. Either you're crazy and you're scamming us, or there's our ghost daughter's in the house. Either way, we're getting a hotel. This is poltergeist.
Right.
But the fact that he completely blows it off, I feel like really leads to like his mental state.
Yeah. And I think he dies because he's so concerned about the cold. Throughout the whole movie, he's always every single person he's come to, he's like, you're gonna be really cold. And he, like, even at the seance, he's like, let's close this window. It's gonna be cold in here.
I like that,
and then he burns alive.
Because that window, that is kind of a funny thing. You see that window open earlier, and then it's still open, and she's like, I don't want to mess with it, and it's just like,
oh yeah.
There's so many more bits this time watching that I noticed, like the fact that the cultists were coming into their lives. Because the first time you notice there's like this strange lady across the street waving.
Right.
You always notice like the breath just out of frame that's watching Peter in the window.
I love that. Yeah.
But this time around, it's like I noticed the window more, and it's like, okay, they're in the house.
Well, and did you notice like when they go
in the mud and everything?
Yeah. Oh, right. When she's
by the
walking
tree house,
that air shot
like
or the aerial shot. And then, dude, in Joan's house too, when she comes and she's knocking on the door and no one's in there, and it comes back and it's got the triangle, and it's got like, you know, the picture in it, and it's got all of her like. I noticed more of that setting, more of that like seance that they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's like really cool to see all of like Charlie's toys and all the like everything that is like, you know, dear to everybody in the family.
Yeah,
there's like
Charlie's toys, exactly. It's like you really
her homemade dolls.
Like really watching it more, because I could definitely see the first time I was caught a little bit off guard by some of the cult stuff, and I could see it because it is so subtle, but it's all there the whole time. Like even like there's so many things that like, oh, my mom used to make doormats just like this, and it's just like, man, now watching it, I'm like, run, run! Like, it's a dead giveaway that she's fucking...
Well, dude, do you know
she's
something?
Fooling you, man.
You know what's something I noticed? The chalkboard, when she's like, "Oh, that was my grandson's chalkboard." She was buying it at the craft store.
Yeah.
So she had the chalkboard
She
with
was
her.
kind of like slow, like really slowly putting shit away, like hoping to get noticed there. Like, she's so suspicious second time around. Like, it's so obvious that she's like seeking her out.
She hella says,
to like get into her life. It's really good because she seems so innocent. And I just gotta say, I had my mind blown the other day because, fucking now I'm forgetting it. So what's that actress's name? Anne Boyd or whatever.
Joan. Yeah. Well, I just realized it's like I wonder if they tried to use her what is it like? Is it her son and grandson or something? But if they tried to use them as vessels, and they died.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
So,
I'll have to think of that again when I watch it.
I was watching briefly in the background. My wife was watching Handmaid's Tale, and this Ann Dowd, who plays the
right, who plays Joan?
Diane or Joan? Yeah, Joan. I mean, they're the same person, and this entire time, I thought it was Margot Martindale. Do you know?
Yeah, right. She does. She has that energy, dude. She has Margot Martindale energy.
They look identical.
They do. They look hella. Yeah, they look.
I'm literally. Let me. These. I'm sorry for any of you can see at home.
I know, right?
They're the same person.
They're the exact same person. Holy shit, that is actually blowing my mind. I did not.
I literally was like, oh yeah, Margot Martindale's in Hereditary, and I'm like, oh no, she isn't.
Yeah.
This whole time,
dude. Margot Martindale is in BoJack Horseman, and that's
I know
hilarious.
that's
like
where it came. That's
bit.
where I know she's the best in it too because she's such a committed character actress.
So good,
but
dude.
It's because while we were watching, I was watching The Americans like a few months ago, and Margot Martindale is in The Americans for sure. But then I was like, oh yeah, it's the same chick from Hereditary, and it's the same chick. And then like later, Handmaid's Tale, I'm like, oh, it's the girl from The Americans. And Mary's like, is it? I'm like, yeah, totally, obviously. Can you not see? And then like literally, it's not. But so I had a brain melt. I just had to point that out.
That was wild. She does look identical.
What are we missing? So I feel like Travis not leaving a voicemail threw us off.
I know, it really did.
Thanks a lot, Travis.
I'm glad we could fill an hour. Well, Travis, I don't know if you're in Mexico right now, but soon I'm sure you will be. So have fun on your trip.
Yeah, have fun
and I hope you can watch all the movies because
he's ahead of us.
He's ahead. Yeah, he's ahead right now, and I'm definitely going to have to get ahead because I'm going on a trip at the end of the month, and I will be gone on the 26th. So I need to get as many episodes done as possible, or I mean, as many films done, and then we'll be doing an episode every Wednesday for you fine people out there in the world, except for the last Wednesday, right?
I don't know yet.
Or no?
That might be.
Oh no, it'll be November. We'll figure that out later. Right now, we're at the beginning of the month. We're still rocking horror, baby. Yeah. Everybody out there, get your horror on. Watch our list.
Horror movies. I'm gonna start doing the things on like Insta Snarf and stuff because I feel like I should put like you post the movie posters. I'm gonna start doing that too. I think like every day.
Right.
And because today was 28 Days Later. Tomorrow is Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. So that'll be spooky.
Are you posting? You should post. Oh, did you post the thing on the website?
Yeah.
You post the whole.
I actually have it
calendar.
Yeah, the whole calendar's on there, and then I have the movies set to release scheduled.
Oh, dope, dude. Okay, cool. That'll be nice. Oh, we usually say if you like this, watch this. I think you should watch Changeling. That's like one of the first seance scenes I remember in a movie where it does the light a candle, do the whole spiel, and then like something happens. I don't know. If you liked this, I mean, clearly Midsummer is really good.
Yeah,
I don't know. It is very unique. It definitely it just enhances the genre that it's placed in. So
yeah, it's hard to say.
It's like almost like The Conjuring has kind of.
I think some of Mike Flanagan's stuff has like a similar vibe. It's a little bit more sensational, but
yeah.
I don't know, like Midnight Mass or something. Totally different, but
Right, totally different. But I get that. I get the Midnight Mass definitely has a similar pacing, and it's more of a character study. So
I liked Midnight Mass. A lot of people ripped on it.
I didn't.
I fucking.
But that's for a different. That's for a different day.
Do you wanna talk about the trailer some more?
I know, right?
Anyway, so we need to talk after this because keep watching the movies, and then next week we're gonna do a podcast. But I don't remember what movie we're doing a podcast for next week.
We have. Oh shit! Yeah, we usually. Oh, this is throwing me off. We don't. I don't know. One year we'll figure it out. And everybody out there who supports us on Patreon, you're amazing. And if you would like to leave a message, you can give us a phone call. Dial 801-613-1501. Tell us about all the horror movies you've been watching. Doesn't even have to be our list. We'd just love to hear about the horror movies you watch.
I want to hear about them all, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks.
To hear anything from you.
Thanks for listening. Watch the horror movies. Stay tuned. I mean, we're trying to post actively on the Reddit and everything, website.
Yeah. Reddit, Instagram, I'm posting every day. Come on Instagram. Give us a little like and subscribe.
That's nice. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Cool.
Goodbye. Have a happy Halloween, spooky time.
Have a good day. Ooh.
That's nice.
Happy Halloween.
All right, bye.